It's 11 a.m. It's an interesting night. We're going to be running 4 miles every 4 hours for the next 48 hours.
Knowledge power, top of the mountain. I'm at the peak of my energies. I feel like Tony Montana. I never panic, I never freeze. I keep it cool under pressure. Super fresh, air fresh. Playboy, you have.
If you believe in God, or if you believe in the universe, whatever it is for you, it's like, why would God supply so much abundance for nature and a lot of people out there, and then have scarcity for you? And so you always got to ask yourself, it's like, what's out there for me as things are in the world? My name is Samkelo Ntetha, and this is going to be a docu-series about a challenge I did over the last few weeks. About 2 weeks ago, I was on a coaching call with some students in a community called Digital Launchpad, which is basically an online entrepreneurship program by Iman, Gadzhi. On this coaching call, I could feel the energy in the room. I knew that everyone on the coaching call was very hyped up about everything that we were discussing, which ranged from just putting yourself out there, confronting your comfort zone, and making yourself a better person. So at the end of the call, I said to all 150 participants that I'm making a challenge for them. And the challenge was for them to do one thing every day for 7 days that made them uncomfortable and scared them a bit. And I decided to lead from the front, and I literally posted my challenge within the first 20 minutes of jumping off of the call. Now, the things I put on my list of things to do over the 7 days were things that had been on my mind for quite a while. I'll list out a few. One of them was to buy a stranger a coffee. The other was to go bungee jumping. And what was probably the most important one was to do the David Goggins 4x4x48 challenge, which is essentially running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours non-stop. These were things that I'd wanted to do that I kept on delaying again and again. And I realized when I wrote the challenge down and put it out there that, boy, I was in for quite an interesting week. I think every single bit of the challenge was something that, even to someone looking, if it didn't seem significant for them, but for me certainly was of big significance. And definitely I had the time of my life over the 7 days when I did the challenges. From buying the stranger a coffee, to the bungee jumping, to the 4x4x48 challenge, I was out of my comfort zone. I learned the most about myself, and I was just on a new level, a different mindset. Hope you enjoy.
You can bank on it. You can put 100 grand on it. Anything I said, I stand on it. In a private plane, I land on it. Lily hood and they call me Bankole. Cause I walk around with a bank on me.
As I said, this is something that was on the back of my mind for a long time. And for whatever reason, I just kept putting it back. You know, sometimes we want to do things, but we don't take action on them. And so when I put this challenge out there, I told myself that I'm finally going to do this. There's no backing out. And there were 150 people, plus over 2,000 people on my Instagram watching, waiting for me to do it. And so there was no backing out. I'm a big believer in public accountability. When you say you're going to do something, it's important to keep your word to yourself. But over and above that, it's important to keep your word to the people that you're, sharing what you're going to do with. And so I was very driven to get it done. I've been running for 2 years now, in total 10. But the last 2 years in particular have been the most significant of my running journey, because that's when I started being more consistent about it. Literally running every day. There was a time in my business career where things went south. I used to run an online business. I was making good income. Things were going very well. And so I had quite a nice gym membership, and I'd committed to basically getting into the best shape of my life. And during that period when the business went south, income was low, there were times where I couldn't even get to the gym, logistically speaking. And so I live about, I think it's like 3 kilometers from the gym. During those times, I literally told myself I would run to the gym. And so I'd have to run 3 kilometers to the gym, do my training session, and run back. And when I started doing that 3 kilometers there and back, I was not necessarily fit. But over a couple of months of doing that day in and day out, 7 days a week really, I started getting into shape and I started enjoying the running. It became less and less of a challenge. And so when we talk about preparation, between that and running the marathon with the Educate team last year, I definitely say that was the best amount of preparation I could have gotten. Run number 1 to run number 6, I'd say that was smooth sailing. But from run 6 onwards, things got really, really tough. My knee really started giving up on me. There were moments where I would literally tell the guys that were with me and supporting me that my body wasn't doing any running, it was all my mind. I had to get to a point where I basically said to myself that I'm going to finish this. And whether the body was saying no, whether I was too tired, whether the knee was giving up, I didn't give it an option. I just literally committed with my mind that I was going to finish the run. And so there were moments where I literally had to strap my knee to numb the pain, not to make the run easy, but just so that I could get myself through each and every run. Discomfort is very interesting, in my opinion. Over the last year, there have been times where I've shied away from discomfort. But it's during the physical training where you get an idea of the power of being uncomfortable. I think a big lesson that I learned is that instead of shying away from discomfort, you need to lean into it. When I got very uncomfortable, mentally I'd lean into the discomfort, just tell myself that here's what it looks like, here's the situation right now, and here's how I'm going to get through it. And I definitely think that's something that I've taken out of this challenge that I'm going to be applying in other aspects of my life. Avoiding shying away from the discomfort, but leaning into it. Because I think that's where a lot of personal growth happens. I think that's where you confront yourself. I think that's where you come to terms with what's possible for you. Motivation is an interesting idea. It's fleeting. One moment you're motivated, the next you're not. I think if you were to rely heavily on motivation, you wouldn't get a lot done, or at least you wouldn't finish it. I was motivated for maybe 40% of the run, but 60% of it was completed through discipline. When the motivation disappeared, and it really disappeared during those 3 a.m. runs, those rainy runs, there was no motivation. That's where I think I had to hype myself up. That's where I had to tap into discipline, where you've set out an intention and you have to complete that intention. And so motivation is fleeting. You can't rely on it. You have to rely on discipline, and discipline is really a muscle.
We've got our eyes on the prize.
This is truly challenging. I think it needed a lot more than courage, but yeah, we're still at it.
Young gun no one that back calling me splurge. Ride me jump right off the curb. Bentley spread fly like a bird. Spin on the first and the third.
One more.
Solid, I'm keeping my word.
One more second.
My equal, I don't know what you heard. Crank up the foreign, I swear. Keep me a stick if they purge.
Many times I wanted to stop at least 40% of the time. When my knee was sore, when my body was tired, I was exhausted mentally. I was exhausted physically. I wanted to stop. I wanted to pack everything and go back home. But I set out to do this, and I literally told myself there's no going back. We talk a lot about the concept of burning your bridges, burning the boats, burning the ships, whatever you regard it as. But there were certainly many times I wanted to stop, but I was so too deep into the whole thing that I told myself that there's no stopping. And I'm really grateful I did. Yeah, look, I think we get so used to the day in and day out routine. You get used to most things that you do on a regular basis. I know that even when I'm training at the gym, there are some exercises, there are some challenges that I get used to. What was once challenging becomes the norm. I think you've got to constantly ask yourself, how can I push myself to the next level? How can I challenge myself? And certainly, I would consider this as something that has helped me figure out a lot about myself. As challenging as it was physically, it was just as challenging mentally. And I definitely recommend for people to take on a challenge of this nature. Even if you don't feel like you're someone who's a runner, I definitely pick up a challenge of this nature. I think it could really show you a lot about who you are, your thinking, and it can help you actually reconfigure your thinking, put yourself in a different frame of mind, and definitely make you just aware of what's possible, you know, what you can achieve. Phenomenal. I was tired on the 12th run, and to make matters worse, something that hadn't happened in any of the runs, the track that we were on the last run, I literally had to loop. And if you're not a runner, you probably don't understand the term loop, but basically I had to run the same track twice, I think possibly 3 times. I ran out of a 6.5 kilometer distance on the track, so I had to basically repeat it. And for me, it felt quite hellish because I ran the Educate Marathon last year. Iman, Gadzhi challenged us to run a marathon as a team, and we were running in Cape Town, 42 kilometers uphill, downhill, and there were moments where we had to basically rerun the route in order to finish the 42 kilometers. And this happened again, and that was definitely one of the most challenging aspects. But at the end, when I had about a kilometer left, I definitely felt so good. It was quite a thrilling moment to get to the end. That last 10 meters was definitely the best moment in the whole 4x4x48 challenge. Yeah, I think there are a lot of parallels between what you do on a fitness level and your life and work in general. The parallels can range from your mindset towards training. When your body is sore, when your mind is callous, they talk about callousing your mind. You really learn a lot about yourself. Do you fumble under pressure? Do you pick yourself up when you have setbacks? How fast do you pick yourself up when you have setbacks? Those are things that physical fitness can teach you. Can you remain consistent towards achieving a goal? I think if you're not someone who challenges themselves physically, I would definitely recommend doing some form of physical training. Doesn't have to be as bizarre as the 4x4x48, but definitely such challenges push you to learn a lot about yourself, figure out how your mind works, and to get yourself into a state of mind that you can definitely apply in life and work. You know, the first thing that came to mind after completing the 4x4x48, it was what's next? That was all that was on my mind. I just wanted to know, how else am I going to make myself feel this way? And it doesn't have to be physically. I think there are a lot of other crazy challenges to take on that push you more mentally or emotionally or even spiritually. But I think it's something that we have to routinely do to get an understanding of how life should be, really. I think perhaps one of the biggest challenges outside of the 4x4x48 that I did was the bungee jumping. I'd never done anything of that nature, and to stand on the edge of a mountain and basically jump off, that was thrilling. I remember feeling a little bit of fear just before jumping off, and as I jumped off, that first 5 seconds floating in the air was perhaps the most discomfort I've ever felt in my life. But after that 5 seconds was the best feeling that I'd ever felt in my life. And so I'll definitely be looking for more ways to challenge myself and give myself moments like that. But they definitely don't have to be physical. I think some of them are going to be mental. I'm exhausted. My mind was pretty much set on just getting this done. Not much sleep. So yeah, we've committed to this. We just gotta get it done.
Look, I just flipped the switch. Flip, flip. I don't know nobody else that's doing this. Body start to drop, ayy, hit the floor. Now they wanna know me since I hit the top, ayy. This a rolling, not a stop. Watch, don't never stop. This the flow that got the block hot, got super hot, ayy. Give me my respect, give me my respect. I just took it left like on ambidextrous.
That David Goggins guy, quite a crazy guy. This is insane shit. My mind is saying a lot of things. It's primarily saying, what the fuck did you get yourself into? You know, I could stop, but I'm a firm believer in public accountability. I think people ask a lot of the time, why do you post, why do you put your life out there? But I don't think I've ever not done anything that I put out. And so you always got to deliver. As I said, physical fitness, I think, is a realm in which you can learn how your mind operates, learn how you view difficulties, realize how strong your mind is. I'm a sprinter. I'm someone who likes to do sprints, and sprinting is a burst of high intensity. It's in those moments where I really am one-to-one with myself, and I'm asking myself, how bad do I want the goals that I've set for myself? And I think immediately as I leave the gym or the track or a challenge like the 4x4x48, all that's on my mind is, how can I take that mindset that I had to apply in the sprinting, pushing myself physically, and take it into my work life? How can I apply it into my work life? How can I apply it to my goals? How can I apply it to my relationships? How can I endure tough moments? That's really what it's all about. And so I'll definitely be taking on more challenges, and I'll definitely be drawing as much lessons from those challenges into my work and life. I don't have any rest days. Every day I'm looking for ways to challenge myself physically, in physical fitness and training, or things like ice baths and sauna sessions. I want to put myself out of my comfort zone on a day-to-day basis. Whether it be in an ice bath, sitting there for 5 to 10 minutes, enduring that coldness, feeling the sensation of massive discomfort. I think it's really a process of just figuring out how your mind works. And so on a week-to-week and a month-to-month basis, I'm always looking for something to put me out of my comfort zone, especially because we get very used to different methods of discomfort. Running for me isn't so much of a discomfort anymore, but running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours was a discomfort. And same thing with ice baths. Sitting there for 2 minutes may not be as uncomfortable as sitting there for 10 minutes. And so I'm always on the lookout for how can I push myself further, because I'm gonna need that understanding for my work goals, my financial goals, and my life goals in general. Mental toughness is an interesting idea. I don't think it's something that you get once off for doing one thing and wear as a badge of honor. I think mental toughness is something that you've got to prove every day. Because, for example, I did the 4x4x48 challenge. I can feel mentally tough after that. But if the next thing comes along, like a work situation where I'm finding myself under pressure and I'm not really hitting the targets that I've set out for myself, or in life where something happens in my family, I have a conflict that I'm dealing with my friends or people I work with. Those are all areas in which your mental toughness has to be proven. You then have to set out to basically demonstrate what mental toughness looks like, not just for people around you, but for yourself. And so I don't always regard myself as mentally tough, definitely not something that I view as something that I owe, but it's something that you rent, and you have to basically pay the rent as often as you can if you want to keep it. As I said earlier, motivation is fleeting. The best thing you can do is to know what drives you, know what hypes you up. That could be certain routines that you do to get yourself into the mental headspace that you need to be in. And obviously you rely on something like discipline, which is more tangible. Discipline you can see, you can practice it. It's like a muscle. You grow it through continuous practice. But after discipline, I think hyping yourself up is definitely the next best thing. And you need to know yourself in order to be able to hype yourself up. I think you need to have proven it to yourself previously. And so for me, what that looked like is that when I would wake up at 3 a.m. to go for a run in the rain, I knew what it would take to get me into that mental framework. Sometimes it was something like listening to music. Sometimes it was a mantra that I would just recite in my head. And for me, a mantra that has always been with me and has stayed with me over the years is you can't ever defeat a man who never gives up. When I just thought about that quote, you can never defeat a man who gives up, it just got me in the right headspace to get it done. Emotions are a superpower, if you ask me. I think most guys nowadays have this concept that emotions aren't good for you. Certainly, I don't think you have to be this emotional person who shows people your emotions in terms of the highs and the lows, but emotions are a superpower. I'm very emotional in many ways, but my emotions are contained. I think I've had many family members and people that I work with regard me as somewhat stoic, but emotions are something that I view as a superpower. You can use them to fuel your journey. There were so many moments where I think I got quite emotional in the experience, and those emotions weren't left, to just sit there. I would definitely take them and incorporate them in the running. If I felt emotional at any stage during a 4-mile stretch, that's where I think I'd be sprinting. That's where I would have been pushing through the pain on my knee. And the nice thing about emotions is that you can call upon them. I think they're quite reliable. If I find myself in a situation where I'm feeling particularly demotivated, or I feel like I don't have the strength to make it through a challenge, I know exactly which emotions to call upon to help to give me the energy that I need to push through. And so I definitely view emotions as a superpower, and the more you can get an understanding of how to handle your emotions, the better you can be able to put them to good use. The first time I went running, it was back in 2022. I was actually running about 3 kilometers from my place to the gym. The gym is like 3 kilometers away. And at that time, 3 kilometers was very difficult. To think now that I could even begin to attempt 78 kilometers, it's making me just realize that so much of whatever you want to call it, success, momentum, is really just based on preparation. Now, I never really set out to do something like this. Yeah, sure, I had it at the back of my mind at one point, but I feel so prepared. And when I started, I didn't think I'd ever do anything of this nature. Back when 3 kilometers was a tough run. So yeah, it's just weighing on my mind about how life prepares you for a lot of challenges that you probably won't even think you'll do until the time comes. 7-day challenge was one of the highlights of the last year. From buying a stranger a coffee, to bungee jumping, to the 4x4x48 challenge, I can't think of a time where I've had the most fun in my life whilst being the most challenged. To talk a bit about the buying a stranger a coffee pot, I'm someone who, if I think back to my younger years, I would have regarded myself as an introvert, often shy at times, unable to express my thoughts, especially around a group of people. When I was standing in a line to buy coffee one of the days, there was a man behind me. And when I got to the front of the line and ordered my coffee, he made a joke saying that, he would like a certain cup of coffee to be added to my bill. And much to his surprise, I willingly said I'd buy the coffee for him. And this man really ended up quite shocked because he didn't expect that moment to happen. And what he didn't know is that I had the intention in my mind to buy a stranger a coffee. And I think that was quite a beautiful moment because it wasn't planned. I had the intention, he made a joke, and here we are now. We find ourselves in a situation where I'm willing to buy him the coffee. He shot his shot by basically asking for it. And I got him the coffee, and we ended up having a nice 5-minute conversation where he told me a bit about who he is and what he does, and I also shared a bit about who I am and what I do. And he was just immensely grateful. And as much as I think he viewed himself as someone who received a gift, I also received a gift in that moment. And the gift for me was just the confidence to be willing to put myself in those situations and knowing that sometimes good can come out of those types of situations. So I would say if you're watching this and you're wondering to yourself how you can make changes in your life to basically improve for the better, I would 100% recommend you consider doing something like the 7-day challenge, where for 7 days consistently you do one thing every day that just puts you out of your comfort zone and challenges you to become a better person. I hope you enjoyed this short docu-series, and I'm looking forward to having some more of these types of adventures to share with you.
Zima, who got the keys to my motherfucking Beamer? Bitch, I ain't no in a, yeah. I want a Rari, I'm feeling godly. Wonder how much that gon' cost me, they feeling saucy. Niggas know that I'm a problem, they'll never solve me. If you came and start some drama, then bring it on me. I've been going fucking fast and it got me swerving. I know that I'm a child of God, but they want me cursed. I've been trapping out the Ozark, I'm already burdened. And I've been hard at work at hoe, you just hardly working. If it wasn't for this rap shit, I'd be moving kilos. Front to back from my connect and cop a few casinos. Used to fake it till I made it just to boost my ego. Stashing money in my shirt, they thought I grew some chichos. Oh no, I got some new wheels, Tired of kids, they think that we in school still, Play me, you gon' find out how the two feel, Fuck around and you gon' find out who's real, Ooh, yeah, Zima. Who got the keys to my motherfucking Beamer, bitch? I used to dream of this, I ain't that nigga you could play with, nigga, that's dangerous. Told him I was raised in the basement, twin AKs in the playpen. Take your face, rearrange it, I can turn eggs into bacon. I can serve base with an apron, niggas been waiting to hate it. I got a beam and I'm anxious to race it, room right past you. Cops keep following a nigga, that's bad news, I don't like hassles. Suck it down, Remy, and I'm feeling like Papoose, hope I don't crash you. Little bird bitch with me in a color.